Broadcasting from the campus of Benton Community College, we are the Mid-Valley STEM-CTE Hub. I'm your host, Casey, and this is Closing the Gap. Hey listeners, welcome back. I have a couple quick announcements before we get going. I know, announcements. What's going on? You may have noticed a shift in audio quality on Closing the Gap in these upcoming episodes and in this episode as well. That is because I am happy to announce that we have a new home in the Mid-Valley STEM-CTE Hub's new makerspace, The Mill. And that's located on the Benton Community College campus in Albany, Oregon. If you're wanting to record your own podcast, you can schedule some time to use our AV lab. And you can do that by emailing mail@linbenton.edu. And you can schedule some time to use our studio, a nice quiet space with some nice, some nice quality mics. Anyway, let's move on to the show. So today we have some of the leaders of GEEO, that's Girls Empowerment, Engineering, and Outreach, a student-run organization at Oregon State University. So could you please introduce yourself and give a little bit about the role that you play in GEEO?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Claire Coxen. I'm a third-year student at Oregon State University studying environmental engineering. In GEEO, Girls Empowerment, Engineering, and Outreach, I serve as one of our co-presidents alongside another member, Sahana Shah, who couldn't make it today, unfortunately. And as co-president, I'm really responsible for helping to lead a lot of the different projects that we have going on in the club and just providing some direction in terms of the kinds of initiatives that we're taking on. And I've had a really great time in the club for the past, I guess I've been in the club going on 3 years now, so I've had a lot of fun just being able to be engaged in all the different outreach projects that we have going on.
Awesome.
Hi, I am Kate Williams. I am a second-year student studying chemical engineering at Oregon State, and I am fortunate enough to serve in the role as treasurer for GEEO, so I get to help make our dreams come to reality when it comes to these awesome outreach events that we do and coordinate to make sure that our budget lines up and we can see things through from start to end.
Excellent. It's great to have you guys on. So the listeners might not know what GEEO is. I know you gave the acronym just now, but if you could give a little bit of an explanation of the exact work that you do, and I understand you do some outreach, if you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So GEEO is really a student-run organization at Oregon State that is really working towards providing opportunities for K-12 students, especially girls, in the community to get exposed to science, technology, engineering, and math. So we do that through a lot of different STEM camps and STEM night events that we host or participate in, where we engage these students in different fun hands-on activities. So that's really our ultimate goal, is just inspiring these young girls to pursue careers and education in STEM.
Could you give some examples of some of the activities that you do at these camps and STEM nights?
Yeah, we are very passionate about activities being very hands-on. So if it's quick, you can discuss the science topic briefly, and then give them a demonstration where the kids can physically get their hands on something, has proven to be the most effective and the most fun. So one that we worked with recently was completing a circuit through your body. So we had an energy stick where when you touched either metal electrode on either end, the electrical current ran through your body, and so you got to light up these little lights and make a little song inside this, what's called an energy stick. And that was just super fun. You could just see the kids' eyes light up when the sound started going. They're like, wow, this is so cool. I did that. And we got to investigate how water is a great conductor and why you shouldn't put your hairdryer in the bathtub. And so we got to have that whole conversation. And recently we're excited to start an activity about surface tension, where you get to learn about the surface tension of water and what floats on water and how you can break surface tension. So that's also a hands-on activity that we're excited for.
Awesome. Is there maybe a buoyancy, or is that...
Buoyancy?
Buoyancy, yes, thank you. A buoyancy kind of test as well with the surface tension, or is it just how to break surface tension and like what it is?
Yeah, so when we were writing the lesson plan for it, we were going back and forth a lot between what topic is better to focus on, because if you could imagine trying to keep the attention of a 5-year-old to talk about buoyancy or surface tension, you kind of got to choose one over the other, even though they're pretty intertwined. So we're focusing on the surface tension aspect. So we're going to have a small bowl with some water in it that we're going to pour pepper on. This also works with cinnamon. And obviously, since that substance is very light, it'll float on the surface of the water. And if you push your finger into the water, nothing will happen. But if you put some soap on your hand or on your finger and then dip your finger again back into the water, the pepper will disperse because you are breaking the surface tension. So focused on surface tension.
Awesome. So how did GEO get started?
GEO was started just a couple years ago. It's a relatively new student organization on the OSU campus. It began back in 2020, actually during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was founded by a couple of College of Engineering students at OSU who are undergrads in our bioengineering program. And really what they noticed is that we had a lot of great affinity organizations that work to support women in engineering, but were specifically aimed at current OSU students. And they wanted to start a club that was focused more on inspiring younger girls, so in that K-12 audience, to pursue STEM as well. And so that was really the idea behind GEO, was just providing opportunities for OSU students to get involved in that kind of outreach with younger students. And so when the club started back in 2020, everything was fully virtual, which was definitely interesting. All of our meetings were on Zoom. So now, in the last couple of years, we've started to transition more to an in-person style. So we've had lots more opportunities for in-person events, which has been really exciting.
Excellent. I can imagine going from virtual to in-person has to be a rewarding feeling.
Yes, yeah, it's also just been interesting because when they founded the club and they created all these official documents and plans, it was just based on a virtual setup. So we've kind of had to start slowly adjusting things as we become more back in person. So like a lot of the initial STEM camps that they hosted were fully online. And so we'd actually send supplies out to students in parts of Oregon. We even did one in Hawaii where we actually mailed a bunch of supplies out to these Girl Scouts. And then we did a STEM camp with them over Zoom. So I remember actually sitting in my dorm room at OSU, like running through a science activity with my laptop in front of me, trying to explain it to these like 5 to like 8-year-old girls, which was super rewarding, but also a little bit challenging because I couldn't be physically there with them, leading them through the activity.
For sure. Wow. That seems like a really great challenge in learning how to teach.
Yes, yeah, you have to be able to explain very clearly and try to like show on your camera exactly what you're doing step by step and hope that they're following along.
Yeah. Fortunately, we got our fair share of being the student, on the recipient end from our own Zoom schooling, that we had a few tips and tricks up our sleeves for when it came to us being the instructors trying to lead an activity. But definitely been super cool being able to transition to mostly in person. We do still offer our meetings on Zoom just so it's as accessible as possible to individuals interested in joining, but being able to have people walk in the room and say, oh, hey, so-and-so, it's nice to see you, and bounce ideas around in person about what hands-on activities would work, what wouldn't work, and why it wouldn't work is just so much more efficient and much more exciting.
Yeah, I can totally agree. I mean, just from my personal work, I find it to be so much easier to communicate and so much just faster to be like, oh, let's do this, let's figure it out, instead of like all the theory and maybe we'll put it into place and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm glad to be back in person for sure.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, I echo that for sure.
So why should other OSU students join GEO? What kind of opportunities will they have by joining you guys in your work?
Yeah, we believe that anybody who has a passion for engaging in science, technology, engineering, or math, whether or not you are a girl, has a place in our club. So while our club does start with the G for girls, we believe that if you're interested in STEM, interested in inspiring the next generation of individuals who will work in STEM and solve our world's problems, you have a place in our club. And if you're inclusive and willing to be creative and get your hands dirty at times, that you'd have a lot to gain as a student as well as an instructor and community leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of second what Kate said, we are inclusive of people who identify with all genders and people from all majors as well. You don't have to be from a STEM major or from an engineering major to be part of our club. We've got lots of folks from like the College of Science that engage in GEO and other departments as well.
Awesome. So I would love to know what you both are studying right now and successes, struggles that you've faced so far in your careers as students.
Yeah, as I said a little bit ago, I'm studying environmental engineering right now, which is in our chemical, biological, and environmental engineering department at OSU, the College of Engineering. And I really decided to pursue engineering just because I've always enjoyed math and science and that kind of problem-solving aspect of those fields. And I saw engineering as a way that I could continue to study that while also solving problems. And environmental engineering specifically, I saw had a really clear positive impact on the world just because a lot of what we do as environmental engineers is really focused on dealing with different kinds of pollutants and different things that are harmful to the environment. I'm especially interested in things like wastewater treatment, so I'm kind of hoping to get into that field in the future. As far as struggles and things like that go, as a student at OSU, it's a really, really welcoming environment in my experience for the most part, but something that I do notice in some of my classes is that I'll walk in and realize that there are very few women there. That's not always true, but there are certain engineering classes, like my statics class, where I walked in and I said to myself, there's 100 people in this room and 10 of them are women. And so that is something that does hit me from time to time and is a little bit just something that I am a little bit aware of, I would say. And so I think for me, just finding communities where I'm interacting with other women in STEM has been really powerful. So that's things like the Society of Women Engineers at OSU. A lot of women in GEO as well have been really impactful to me, just to see other women that are pursuing the same kinds of things that I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am studying chemical engineering in my second year, so I've been able to look up to people like Claire and other individuals in our club who have a pretty similar course layout as what I have right now. So just being able to compare, like, oh, I'm going to have this professor for physics. Should I try and avoid them? Or what's your experience like, which has been super helpful. And coming back to why I decided to go into chemical engineering, I actually entered Oregon State in the food science and technology department because I've always had a strong passion for food growing up and its ability to bring people together. And with our ever-growing world population, now over 8 billion, everybody is always going to need to eat. And we could probably sit here and agree that the way we're currently feeding everybody is not very sustainable. There's an enormous amount of waste that is kind of closed and hidden behind the curtain that, if people knew, would be extremely alarming. So I entered the food science and technology department hoping to make a change there. Got about halfway through my first year and decided to pivot after realizing I could probably make a larger change and a greater change in the food industry and beyond with a degree that's essentially in problem solving. So I switched to chemical engineering, haven't looked back except for when I'm looking at the next few years of courses I'm going to have to take. But I think it'll all be worth it because while you're studying engineering, it's very difficult, and it's, in some senses, you put your head in the books and you meet a community of whoever it may be in your classes, and you work on your assignments together. But I think that once you've graduated, you've really shown individuals and shown the world that you have the drive, or you have what it takes to be a problem solver, and you have put in so many hundreds of hours to learning about yourself and learning how you learn and learning about the world, that you just have what it takes to go on and be a efficient problem solver. As for struggles, I'd have to echo what Claire said in terms of walking into a class and having it fill a whole lecture hall and maybe 10% or less are women. So in some senses that makes it more difficult, but in some senses it makes it more motivating because being a minority, I want to encourage other minorities to push through the struggles that they're having and just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like really seeing it to be it is important sometimes. Seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, I feel like if you feel like you're like the only person like you in a space, it can be really hard to persevere after a while, especially in those hard times. You're getting to your like third year and like this is like really tough, and it's been tough for quite a while now. Do I still want to do this? And I think having that support that you can see, even just someone that went before you, is super important. Do you have any examples of people like that you've seen go before you that have been inspiring on this journey?
My parents are both professionally trained pharmacists. There's always lots of medical terms being thrown around in my household growing up, which definitely encouraged me and got me excited about STEM. But I really have to give a big shout out to my high school chemistry teacher who got me very excited about the endless possibilities when it comes to chemistry. And so during the times that I've been bogged down in my engineering side of my degree, I've been able to look to the chemistry side and get excited about the chemistry side of things, because as nerdy as it may sound, I really like organic chemistry and the chemistry side of my degree. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think role models are definitely so important for people, especially when you're pursuing something like an engineering degree, which is challenging for sure at times. And so that's something we're definitely aware of as a club. And so something we try to do is provide opportunities for students to connect with mentors and see those role models. So something we've done in the past is brought in guest speakers. For example, we brought in Jill Lewis, who's an OSU graduate from our mechanical engineering department. She currently works as an engineer at SpaceX, designing rockets and all kinds of super cool things. And so that was something that was really powerful for our members, was to bring her in and have her actually speak to us as a club. And she talked about things like mentorship and her experiences as a woman in STEM, especially professionally, and just sort of what that looks like and what we should expect as women and how to navigate that world. So I think, yeah, having those opportunities to engage with role models and see those role models is really important and powerful.
Yeah, that really, being able to attend and ask questions to and learn from a role model who's been in my shoes or in shoes of a similar size back in the day, and being able to realize that they saw the end of the light at the tunnel, or the light at the end of the tunnel, and made it through and are glad that they did so and would do so again, has been just so beyond encouraging.
That's wonderful. So is the club working on anything? Any big projects in the wings?
A couple of our members, our officers in the outreach coordinator position, are working on actually putting together a larger scale science fair style event that'll be happening spring term. We don't have finalized dates for that yet, but we can get those to you when we do, because we'd love to advertise that. Our goal for that is to really connect with a lot of people in the Corvallis and Albany community and the surrounding areas, to bring in a lot of different students to engage in that activity. So that's kind of in the works right now. I don't know if you want to talk about some other events.
Yeah, that would be a big culminating event for our club in the spring. But between now and then, we've been focusing on getting our members out to just an evening-long STEM outreach night. So they're oftentimes hosted at a local elementary, K-8, or middle school in the area. And so being able to have several activities, meaning an informational poster as well as the knowledge of how to run the activity and the materials required at the ready, so we can get a phone call on a Monday and say, hey, we need representatives to hold a table on a Wednesday, and be able to supply everything we need for that just makes our lives easier. So kind of in the planning stages right now for some more hands-on activities that we think would go over well with a younger versus an older audience, and how to tailor it for who we're teaching. So because having everything planned out to a T just makes our lives go easier when it comes time to execute the activity, as do most things in life.
For sure. So what I'm hearing is that a local teacher could call you up and be like, hey, I want you to lead this program with my middle school students, and you could come out and lead a program with them?
I would say that is the goal. Yeah, we'd like to be able to connect with folks like that and just go out and engage with classes and things like that. We're working on a connection right now with a class at Corvallis High School, where we're hoping to go out and do a STEM camp with that specific classroom of students. That'll be happening, I think, in April. So that's something we've got going on as well. We definitely are interested in also engaging with elementary schools, middle schools, high schools in the area.
Yeah, having a regular schedule or regular list of teachers in the area, I think, would be like the end goal of the club, and just to sustain that, to get as many kids as well as Oregon State students engaged. And so now is our time to network and build those relationships to get that regular list, so we can receive calls and answer the calls when they come in.
Epic. That's really cool. Are you guys planning on doing programming throughout the summer as well, or just during the school year?
In the past, we haven't done much over the summer, just because we don't have many members in the Corvallis area. But I think as we grow as a club and start to have more people and just greater resources and things like that, that is something that we'll look towards doing more as summer activities as well.
It's tough with a student-run organization of full-time students who are here September to June, and then often have an internship or choose to summer outside of Corvallis. So not sure about that. Maybe in the long term, once we have our feet under ourselves a little bit more, but that would definitely be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to share with the audience how local teachers could get a hold of you to have you come to their classrooms?
Yeah, for sure. We've got a couple different ways people can contact us. One that I'll kind of just plug really quick is our Instagram account,
Awesome.
which is GEO_club. That's GEEO_club. But probably the best way for a teacher or somebody else in the community to contact us is just by email. You can find all those emails on our OSU website if you just search for the GEO Club, or geoclub@gmail.com. That's our email if anyone wants to contact us.
Say it one more time.
GEO Club, GEEO club@gmail.com. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
So I'm really glad we did that second round for listeners. We did the whole podcast before, and then we just had to record it because I forgot to hit record or it turned off. It was probably me. Anyway, it was really nice having you both out. I appreciate you coming to the Mill space to record this episode of Closing the Gap.
Thank you so much for having us. We really love the mission of your work here, and being able to be involved has been a joy. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been super fun chatting about GEO and STEM and all of that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Closing the Gap. If you like this show, subscribe on Spotify. You can also find us on Instagram at MV-STEM-CTE, on Twitter at Mid-Valley STEM, and online at midvalleystem.org. Until next time, keep progressing.